The sun will always shine on Guam, and that's one of the blessings we have here. But it rains too. That's part of the blessing of living in a tropical island. Is we get 10 months of wonderful sunshine, and then we get a lot of rain. I mean, like a lot of rain. I was talking about the 9-pound raindrops earlier. The science behind it is something that I am the least qualified person to talk about. That's why I bring in my buddy Landon Aidlet from the National Weather Service, and Landon is actually joining us now. We got two things to touch on, like Landon. So I know you're sitting pretty right now because unfortunately you're joining us on a day where it's your holiday because you are a federal employee and today is Columbus Day. So thanks for giving us some of your time on your day off. However, I do know that your beloved NC State Wolfpack actually beat the mighty Florida State Seminoles, so you're probably in a really good mood to talk about weather.
Yeah, that was an amazing game, and I'm surprised we made it through with that one. It's always a nail biter, always the big ones, and that's what makes it so exciting. My gosh, but yeah, good job to the Wolfpack.
There you go, 14th ranked team in the nation. They are good for a reason. So since you are joining us, and one thing that I know, I was watching a lot of college football this weekend just because the weather was so nuts. I mean, we were going all the way like to maybe like back to last Thursday and last Friday. You walk outside, and if you walk like here in our studios, I could walk out from here to my car in the KOM parking lot. I'm already sweating because it was just so brutally hot. And yet Jenna Gamindi Blas, who was just here, by the way, she said hi. We're talking about the Great Guam Shakeout. They were putting out these flood warnings, which is, you would think that would be like a huge, contradiction in terms. But I mean, it was raining really, really hard, and we did see some really heavy rainfall and flooding. So why the two weather conditions at the same time?
Yeah, and I wish I had the graphic pulled up while we're talking, but that was a lot of the effect of the light winds that we've had prevalent over the island the last several days. And so we're talking about this island effect convection. And if you remember back to the link many months ago when we had that morning news show, and I would talk about the light winds enhancing the showers and thunderstorms. We would be in this regime where showers and thunderstorms can develop over parts of the islands. And if there's a slight wind, either east wind or west winds, that would kind of influence what parts of Guam would be seeing the potential for showers and thunderstorms. And so one day we had a lot of flooding at Polaris Point near Navy Base Guam, Santa Rita, Agate. But the next day it was Jeltnia and other areas on the eastern side of the islands because the light prevailing winds were switching directions in the larger influence of weak circulations in the region. And so we saw that bouncing around on a daily basis where we had to issue urban and small stream flood advisories for like that urbanized and street flooding. But on the rare occasions, we get the more significant rainfall causing some flash flooding concerns. And so now we're kind of in a different pattern. We're getting out of that light winds, island effect convection regime, going to more of a monsoon pattern. And that's why we have the hydrologic outlook issued over the weekend for the coming week. We upgraded that to a flash flood watch early this morning through late Tuesday night. That's likely to be extended. We could see some flash flooding again this week with this very wet pattern. But of note, you mentioned the 9-pound raindrops. I didn't see any of those over the weekend because everywhere I went, I missed it. I was always in the wrong place for the rainfall. But here at the office, we have yet to have our first 1-inch rainfall day this month. And so for the month of October, we've only had a total of 2.78 inches of rainfall for the last 9 days. That's not too much.
And I would say that's actually probably pretty good for you, Landon, because I mean, your backyard is the airfield for the Guam International Airport, and the airport gets really, really concerned when they hear about any amount of rainfall, because obviously that affects planes being able to take off and land. So the fact that you guys have probably had a relatively dry month thus far is probably good news for them.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. And of course, also concerned about lightning strikes. So when they have all those people moving luggage and equipment to and from the aircraft, that's a major concern of theirs out there on the tarmac. But yeah, we've had 2 3/4 inches of rain here at the office, but other parts of the island probably have seen twice that amount of rainfall. And that's really where the showers set up and dump the rainfall. And so we're going to zoom right over to the radar right now. And of course, we're going into a wet weather pattern for the week ahead, and we could see 3 inches of rainfall in a matter of hours with the current pattern we have at hand. So we're looking down at Mauricio right now. They're the hot spot with the showers and thunderstorms. Cocos Island down here. This is all generally moving up from the south, and so the greens, those are the moderate showers, the yellows and oranges, those are the heavy showers. It's really dumping down there. So we're looking at the 1 hour rainfall rates. It's kind of cooled off just a little bit, but we're looking at rainfall rates upwards of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Some of those heavier cells were much heavier. And elsewhere across Guam, not so bad. Really the hot spot for showers right now is southern Guam. So we're going to open up the radar just a little bit. This is what's actually happening right there as we speak. So Mauricio, Umatic, Agate, Santa Rita, those are the hot spots everywhere, basically south of Cross Island Road at the moment. That's where you're seeing the most rainfall. But we also had a heavy cell just off of Retidian Point. Probably was enough to put off some lightning, but you notice it fizzled out pretty quickly. Like most bad relationships, it breaks up and dies away. And so there we go. This is going to be the theme of the day, at least through today and tonight, before the showers really start filling in. So the forecast models are really showing a wet pattern developing this afternoon, evening, overnight, and continuing at least through midweek. And so let's go to the satellite right quick. There we go. So this is showing the satellite right over Guam, the visible imagery with the whites. Those are the clouds, the convection. But we had that big plume of showers and thunderstorms near Retidian. I don't see any lightning strikes right now in the data, but we probably had like 1 or 2 strikes up there before it fizzled out. We are seeing some strikes east of east of Guam, outside of our coastal waters. But
yeah, real quick, Landon, can you tell us what, for the uninitiated like me, right? When you say like you're not seeing like lightning strikes, how can we tell, like looking at that loop that you're looking at right now, what constitutes something that would have a greater concentration of lightning in it? Because I'm looking at this right now and I'm just thinking, okay, that's a lot of rain and maybe some wind and everything, but how do you detect lightning?
Yeah, you want to see those cauliflower-looking signatures in the visible imagery. Those are those deep convective plumes of showers and thunderstorms where you get the very strong updrafts, pushing the stuff high up in the atmosphere. You get the larger raindrops, and then you get the downdrafts, and you get that frictional build in the atmosphere. And that's generally what causes the lightning strikes. But we can also look at the infrared. And so I'm going to show a colorized infrared imagery.
Oh, that makes a world of difference. Okay.
And so when you see these greens, the blues, the greens, the blacks, that's where you have the coldest cloud tops. That means the clouds are way up high in the atmosphere. And so the colder the cloud tops, the stronger the updrafts. And so that's where we typically see the lightning. This is tropical disturbance invest area 98W. Is it a threat to Guam? It is not. It is well west of us and moving toward the Philippines and Taiwan. But there is another invest area. It's much of do nothing at the moment. It's generally just offshore of us to our west. It's not much to speak of at the moment, but we are watching it in the models, showing a little bit of possible development over the next week, but it's very circumstantial. We were looking at the possibility of a TC event in the Northern Islands about a week ago for this current week, but that has since modified, it's changed, and there's possibly another circulation out here well to our east. So we're in a very busy pattern with the monsoon type trough draped right across the CNMI. So that's going to be holding steady, and it's going to be a focus point for showers and thunderstorms and weak embedded circulation. This broad circulation up here to the north, that is an upper level low that's helping to fuel some of the deeper showers and thunderstorms east of us. So it's going to be a little wild card to keep things active. But the pattern for the week ahead, we're going to see this monsoon trough generate the showers and thunderstorms, and the forecast models do have that belt of showers. It's like a conveyor belt of moisture that's going to be sitting overhead for the next 3 to 5 days. And some of the models have us sitting between 5 and 8 inches of rainfall by Friday. So there is a potential for a lot of showers and thunderstorms this week. And that's why we have the flash flood watch currently in effect. And so what is a watch? Well, that means that flooding is possible. Stay tuned to Radio TV for more information and be ready to move to higher ground if you live in near rivers and creeks. But a flood warning means that flooding is happening or will happen very soon. So have ways to get that information when we issue those bulletins, whether it's a watch or an upgrade to a flash flood warning. Make sure you have a way to receive that information, because we'll be posting it to our webpage and our social media, but do you get it regularly if that's the case? So we always recommend people get weather radios.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because you always, you've been banging this drum a really, really long time, and it's a drum that needs to be banged. But you always say, make sure to have like a home readiness kit, make sure you're well stocked. And, us as Guamanians and islanders in general, we know that, you got to have batteries, you got to have a flashlight, you got to have a good supply of water. Radio is really, really helpful. But can you give us some brands now? I'm going to hold your feet to the fire and then just say, do you go for, top of the line brand names or do you just kind of get, like the nice price, the bargain bin ones, because you're only going to need it for like 2 or 3 days at a pop?
I just want it to work. I don't care what brand it is, but
okay.
And actually,
hey, get it on Amazon. Find it on Prime Day.
Yeah, Amazon sells it. Walmart.com. You can have it shipped over here. Home Depot has several in stock that are being on sale. This is a Midland radio. This is a battery operated, and it also comes complete with a flashlight on it, as well as AM/FM radio. So it's battery powered. So when the power goes out, you can still listen to what's going on. And of course, we are a very active radio market. And so when things are being issued from my office, it will go onto the radio station, the broadcast stations, as well as Noaa weather radio. This is more of a standard weather radio that you can set up in your office, your home, and I have one set up in my home. So it may be turned off and I may not be hearing anything up here, but once we trigger a flash flood warning or some other critical life-saving information, it'll alert the weather radio, if you have it set properly, to come back to life, and it will awaken you. And so you can hook up things like strobe lights. If you're hard of hearing, you can set a strobe light to it and it'll start flashing to let you know something's up. So there's multiple ways of getting information. And so you have to make sure you can receive it.
I don't know, Landon, what I'm about to say to be true, but I'm pretty much guaranteeing that, and for people that don't necessarily want to go out and buy like the hardware device, I'm pretty sure there are the weather radio alerts are also available, and somebody's got an app for it.
They probably do, and I'm not too familiar with a lot of the apps that are out there. There's
so the police scanner is available.
But I know some of the news organizations out here, once we issue a bulletin, it'll send a text notification to your phone. There's also a number of apps like FEMA app. They do pretty well at communicating our information. But have multiple ways to get that information. But when disaster does strike, what would go into your emergency kit? Well, spare lights. Of course, this is a plug-up light, but if you have a generator, you can plug it to the generator. But if you need non-electrical power, candles are always a great source. So always have the candles available when you have a long-term power outage. But also when the power goes out, the ATMs don't work. So you need to have cash, have lots of cash on hands for whatever disaster. And of course, earthquakes can strike without warning. So you're either ready or you're not. And think back to March of 2020 when the toilet paper and paper towels ran out. You want to have those on hand as well. Also, food. Have lots of food on standby, at least for several days of survival per person in your house. So always have food handy. And most important, coffee. For us adults out there, we need coffee. And so if you have the coffee beans...
What kind of coffee do our friends at the NWS typically rely on to get them through the day? And especially, what would you recommend as far as, having coffee in your disaster kit? Do you go for just the instant stuff, or like you've got a nice bag of beans and like some of the brew right in front of you and everything? What can you recommend?
I like the stronger, the better. Hawaiian coffee is always great. Kona coffee is phenomenal. This is, I think, Lion's brand coffee, which is pretty good. But coffee beans, again, when the power goes out, you need to have that hand crank grinder. So have that ready, and make sure you have a way to warm up your water, whether it's a propane stove or something. But those automated coffee makers may not work. The K-cup machines, the brewers, may not do too well in the power outage. So
okay, and
think outside the box.
Last question before I let you go, right? My family always used, and this is back in like the 80s and 90s, right? We always used like the kerosene lamps. Do you still recommend those, or has technology advanced and are there better things to use?
Sometimes you just can't beat the basics. And so that's what I grew up with. And when we had power outages for multiple days at a time in the wintertime, those kerosene lamps illuminated a room very nicely. So have those available, but make sure they're in a safe place so that kids running around don't topple it and cause a fire or something. But those kerosene lamps are great. I've seen them for sale from time to time here on Guam. So when you do see those, grab a couple because they are nice.
Yeah, that's the other, like our Mike Villagomez even gave a really good point. He goes, those things last a long time too.
Yep. So just before we head out, I do want to remind people we are in a flash flood watch, and to stay tuned because when these showers do push over, they can be locally heavy at times. And that's where we're most concerned about the flash flooding potential. So if you see something, say something. Give us a call, give us a message on Facebook, but also report it on our webpage, weather.gov/GUM. File a report, let us know what you're seeing, where you're seeing it. because if you have problems, if there's flooding in your area, we want to know about it so we can help relay that information to the authorities. So stay tuned. It's going to be a wet week, but otherwise we will get through it and the sun will shine again soon.
All right. Perfect way to end that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the man himself, Landon over at the National Weather Service. He's got millions and millions of dollars worth of, federally provided satellites, radar, sonar, all this stuff and everything. But he still needs our input. So make sure to hit him up on,
Yes.
send him a DM on Facebook. And if you see something in your neck of the woods, let him know, because they rely on that information too. So, Landon, we appreciate it as always, man.
Thank you, Jason. See y'all soon.
Right.
I'll be up in the Saipan all this week.
Hey, we'll travel safe, please, because, have a safe flight.
All right, that is going to do it for the hotspot today.